So you've decided to give this cloud thing a try. One of the best places to do so is with Amazon Web Services, AWS. As a leading cloud provider in the world, knowledge in this area can benefit anybody from IT operations, sysadmins, software developers, and even students. As more workloads move to the cloud, knowledge in this area is crucial. So now you know why. Let's create your first account and let's get into it. Now we're ready to begin to create our first AWS account. To do so, you want to go to aws.amazon.com and then you will be presented with this page. Once you get here, you want to go to the top right of the page and click Create an AWS account. Inside this page and menu, you'll be presented with some information you need to provide to be able to create your account, and you can just follow along with your own information as I will supply mine. Now we can see that I supplied my information to create our account with a temporary email that I've created for my domain, password, and then an account name. It's always the best practice to create your account name with something that you can remember, such as my first account, demo, or even your name or business name. Whatever suits you, just go with it. Then hit continue. Now that you reach this page, the first thing you want to do is click this little button here and create a personal account type. The full name shall stay whatever you wanted to name your account, and then you will supply your phone number, your address, state, zip code, and then you will click here to indicate that you have read their agreeing terms, and then click Create Account and Continue. Now we are ready to provide our credit card information. I have blocked out some auto-populate data that filled in my form. In this area, you should just be able to put in your credit card number, the name, expiration date, and then you should be able to verify and add and start your account. After you verified your identity, now we have to pick a support plan. For us, we're just going to go with the basic. It doesn't cost anything, and for our needs, it'll be more than enough. Now that we've verified our registration, submitted our payment information, and picked a support plan, we are ready to log into our account and begin some initial configuration. To do so, click back into the sign into the console. Now it's very important to note here that you have to sign in as the root user of the account. The root user of your account is the one that you created with the email. We'll touch on this later in other videos about IAM users and how we can handle that, but for this tutorial alone, we will use the root user to begin with. Now that we were able to successfully log into our account for the first time, there is a couple things to note here so that way we can be able to navigate through and some good touch points. First thing you want to do is look at services. We can see all of the AWS services here within the current group that they're in, and then also on the left history of previous services that you've been in. Also, you can search for services in the middle, and then in the top bar, we can get some information here as well on the top right, such as some account information, the region that we're in, and a support tab. I highly recommend changing your region to the one that's closest to you that ends in a -1. This can also help with enabling more advanced features for Amazon Web Services. So always pick a thing with a -1, as the -1 areas are always the ones that get features enabled first. So for me, that's going to be North Virginia. Before we move forward, it's important to note that we have to talk about the networking of AWS, because these topics and terms are going to be popping up everywhere. One is, what is a region? A region is a geographic area in the world where there's an AWS data center. And as we can see in the top right tab, that we have United States East 1 and 2 and West 1 and 2, and that is because there are some in Virginia and then there's some on the West Coast. We also can see Asia Pacific, Canada, parts of Europe, Middle East, and South America. Another term that you're going to hear constantly and see in the configuration is availability zone. An availability zone is multiple data centers that make up a region. So if you look at this region, US East 1, there is multiple data centers and AZs that make up that region. For example, you have US East 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and all these are distinct individual data centers for redundancy for Amazon Web Services. Now we're ready to start configuring our account. Next step is to go to Identity Access Management, or IAM for short. You want to click that in the search tab, click that. Now that you're in the Identity Access Management screen, as you can see here, there is a couple security statuses that we will try to fix along the way. And then up here, you'll see a lot of resources that we don't have. One of the first things that we need to do is we need to create ourselves a user. You want to click Add User. Now we will create our user. To create our user, you will give them a username, my user, and then you want to select the access type. For this user, we will use both programmatic and console access. Console access is so that way they can log in through the screen here like we did with our email. The only difference is that we won't be using our root account or root user. Programmatic access is when you want to use the AWS API, do stuff from the command line, or write custom code and scripts to perform actions for you. Now within here, you can choose an auto-generated password or a custom password. Do which one, whatever you'd like to do, and then click Next. Now we have to assign our user permissions. To do so, we can attach policies directly, or we can create a group. We're going to create an admin group to put this user in because they are going to be the administrator of this account. Click create group, group name, admins, and then click the very first thing, administrator access, and hit create group. Now our user is an administrator within this account, which means they have full access. Click next. We don't need any tags. Hit review, and then hit create user. Once you reach the screen, it'll say success and you'll be provided a file. Make sure you download this file because you can only get it one time. Once you reach this file, download it. It'll have your username, password, and your programmatic access keys, which you should save in a secure place. Now that our user is created, we have to fix some of the security issues that we are presented when we first went to the IAM screen. So you will go back to dashboard. Now that we're back at the IAM screen, we can see that there's two more security issues that we need to fix. The first one we're going to do is activate the MFA on a root account. So this way, anytime we need to log into our root account, that we have to provide a passcode that is sent to our phone. To set this up, click MFA on your root account, click Manage MFA, click down here to Multi-Factor Authentication, then click Activate. Now within here, you have several different ways that you can activate MFA for your account. I suggest using the virtual MFA device. Click Continue. Now we have to set up a virtual MFA device. First, click List of compatible applications. Scroll all the way down, and we can see for Android or iPhone, depending on what you use, that there is Authy, Duo Mobile, LastPass Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, and Google Authenticator. I prefer Authy, but you can pick any of these and they will work for you. After you have the app downloaded, open it up and scan this QR code, and then you will be presented with a 6-digit code that refreshes every 60 seconds. Now we actually have to do this 2 times. So enter the first 6 digits that you see, and then wait for the timer to go up, and then you'll be able to present another 6-digit code, and then you will put that one in here as well. If you did this correctly, you should be able to hit Assign MFA, and then you'll get a success error. However, I'm not able to do this at this time because I'm recording this tutorial on my phone and I actually can't authenticate via MFA. After you did your MFA, let's go back to the dashboard, and then you should have a check mark right here on Activate MFA on your root account, and then the last thing we need to do is apply an IAM password policy. Click in here, Manage Password Policy. We want to set a password policy. To set our password policy, once you get in the screen, you want to change a few of these values. A 6-character password is not a strong password. We want to use something more like 12. And now we actually have to set some requirements for a password to be used. For the sake of this tutorial, we won't go too advanced, but we will hit some best practices along the way. One will be require at least 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase, at least 1 number, a special character, enable expiration. So this way we force ourselves to change a password every 3 months or 90 days, and then prevent password reuse. This way we can't use the last 5 passwords for our account. I want to set something, for instance, say 3. So that way we can't use the same password 3 times. We have to use a different one. And then hit Save Changes, and then it'll be updated. Go back to the dashboard. Now all of your security statuses should be lit green with check marks. Let's go back to Services and Console Home. Now that we're back in the main screen, we have a few more things that we need to configure. We want to go up to the top to My First Account, or whatever you named your account, click My Account. This is the Account Settings tab. Scroll all the way down to where it says IAM user role and access billing information, and click Activate IAM Access and Update. This grants the users within the account that are not root to be able to have access to the billing information. We have one final task to do to finish configuring our account. We want to enable organizations. AWS Organizations creates an organizational unit and hierarchy for our accounts. What that means is we can create multiple accounts below this account that were created, where additional permissions and advanced features can be passed down to our child accounts. To do that, we want to go all the way up to here, Services, search for Organizations, click that. You want to create organization, click Create Organization. And there you go. Now we have a master account. Now to finish setting up organizations for your account, all you have to do is go to the verification email and link that was sent to the email used to create this account, follow the directions, and you have organizations enabled. Now let's go back to the home console. Now we've successfully configured our root account. To finish tying things up, you want to log out of your root account and then log back in as the users that you created earlier. Now that you have logged out, now we can log back in with the IAM admin user that we created earlier. Click Log Back In. Now that you clicked Sign In, now you want to go down to IAM user, and it'll prompt you for an account ID or an account alias. The account alias is the account name that you created earlier. For me, that is My First Account, or you can enter your account ID. To get your account ID, you want to go to that file you downloaded earlier when you created your first user. For me, mine looks like this. And we can see here towards this end, we have something called a console login link. and that information is right here. The account ID is the first 12 digits that you can find within this URL. Just copy those over, paste, next. Now you'll be presented a sign in as an IAM user screen. To move forward with this, you want to click my username. The user I created, his name is my user, and then you will click the password that you either set for that user or the auto-generated, and I will fill that in now. And once that's done, you should be able to hit sign in. And depending on the policies that you set, you may be forced to reset your password. If so, you will get a screen that looks something similar to this, where you can see the account name, the user, and then you would put the old password that was you either set or was generated for you, and then create a new password on sign in. And then after you hit confirm password change, you'll be presented back with a console screen. Now that you have your first account set up and configured, you're ready to start your learning path of AWS in the cloud. If you like anything that you've seen in this video here, please subscribe and stay tuned for more tutorials to follow up on this. Have a good one.